Phase 4. What an interesting phase in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Definitely a divisive phase amongst the fans. I have heard countless times how many people have been saying, oh, Phase 4 has sucked, or oh, Phase 4 has dipped in quality, or oh, has the MCU lost it when it comes to the magic that they were once able to have. Was it the best phase that they've had? No. But I also did not go into this phase expecting them to replicate Phase 3, which was a culmination of two phases building up, taking their time with each film, and setting up the culmination that was Avengers Endgame. There's a lot of people who didn't think that the Marvel Cinematic Universe would continue past Avengers Endgame. So for me, I felt like Phase 4 was like a new Phase 1. You know what I mean? It was a brand new introduction to a bunch of new characters. We're essentially starting all over, building towards a brand new Avengers Endgame level event. So by the time we get to Phase 5 and even Phase 6, maybe then will be a better time to reflect back and go and see if Phase 4 really was bad or really was pointless. But in any event, let me give my ranking for Phase 4. Starting at the bottom of the list, at number 18, is Thor, Love, and Thunder. And I know that this might sound like I hate this movie because it's at the bottom. And even in my review for the movie, I was not particularly high on it. I had many issues, and I do still have many issues. I still think the movie is watchable. I still think that there is some fun to be had with this film. But the problem is that because Taika Waititi loves to do the funnies, he had too much fun with the movie. I think there wasn't enough emphasis put on certain things like Natalie Portman, Jane Foster's cancer side story. We could have done a lot more serious things with that. Gore the God Butcher, I will try not to get too upset over the idea that we had Christian Bale, an actor on that level, on that caliber, as a villain in the MCU. We will never get this ever again. And I just felt like he was committed. He gave a good performance, but there was not enough scenes of that character being more vicious and brutal. And also, Thor is just too goofy. He's slapsticky goofy. And for whatever reason, I didn't mind that in Thor Ragnarok. It felt like a refreshing change of pace for the character. And you could argue that, oh, well, if you like it there, then he should still be that way with this one. And it's like, well, no, because after Ragnarok, the character went through Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, and I would argue that those two movies did a much better job at balancing Thor's comedy and seriousness. Number 17, Eternals. This, too, is a movie that I can sit back and watch and enjoy. I can appreciate the change of pace from a regular MCU movie. I think the only issue I have is that I wish we had more time, which this movie's not short. It's not like movie length-wise it's short, but I think that this would have been a better Disney Plus series, just so that we can get to know each and every single character and member of the Eternals. I think that there's some great ideas here. I think that there's some things that, even with this movie, it will probably feel more important much later on. Number 16, I Am Groot. I Am Groot. I really enjoyed these little shorts. They're short, but they're to the point. They're very fun. They're cute. The only reason why it's this low is because they're short. Otherwise, I would have welcomed, even if it was a special, like a half hour, 40-minute special. Number 15, Black Widow. And it disappoints me to put it on the lower end of the phase because I did enjoy Black Widow for what it was. I love Scarlett Johansson. I love her in this role as Natasha Romanoff, and I love the fact that the character finally got a standalone movie. Did it come too late? Well, yes, because she died in Endgame. So this is a prequel. And I feel like it would make more sense to have this movie come out when the film actually takes place in the timeline, right after Civil War. I do love getting more of her backstory. I have been actually wanting a Black Widow movie to get into her origin, that we get some of her family, like her father, David Harbour, her mother, Rachel Weisz, who was great, but especially her sister, Yelena Belova. I really like the Taskmaster character in theory, and I'm not going to probably be as harsh as other people are about it, but I do think that it just did not reach the potential that that character can have. Number 14, What If? What If? I think this is higher on other people's list because it actually is really fun and it's different and it's animated, so they're able to do a lot more with it. And I have to also give the show credit because they had a lot of the MCU actors actually voicing the characters in the episodes, and there was some great ideas here. The only reason why it's lower, I don't know how quick I will be to go back and rewatch this right off the bat. We are getting more seasons though, so that will probably give me even more incentive. Number 13, She-Hulk. Very controversial, so I just kind of want to barrel through the fact that I enjoyed She-Hulk way more than most people. It was meant to be a sitcom. It was meant to be a comedy, and I think a lot of people just didn't vibe with that. I found it enjoyable, though. I loved Tatiana Maslany as Jennifer Walters. I thought she was great. I love her connection to Bruce Banner and Mark Ruffalo actually being there. Some of the other stuff with the Abomination and even the finale, which is very divided, I know. But it's true to the character, her breaking the fourth wall. The idea of a character coming out into the real world and complaining to the writers and the showrunners and saying, this finale sucks, this writing sucks. I don't know, I feel like it was inspired. I feel like Marvel showed some real balls to go ahead and do something like this. Number 12, Miss Marvel. Talk about a show that's about a teenage Pakistani girl that I should have no relation to or no connection to, but I did connect with her. I did enjoy her. I especially not only loved the actress, but I loved her family. I loved getting to know the culture and getting to know more about their customs and their food and just everything that they had going on with their religion. Sure, the villain plot was a little wonky, and sure, it might have gotten a little convoluted along the way, but when I went back and binged this, I think it was a much better and clearer mind binging it all at once. Number 11, Hawkeye. Hawkeye did another great job of introducing a younger character, and she's one of the first legacy characters, like a character who's taking the mantle from a previously original member of the Avengers team, Kate Bishop. I thought Haley Steinfeld was great, very likable, very funny. And I loved how she too looked up to Hawkeye. Her reasoning for looking up to Hawkeye was not just like, oh, he's an Avenger, so I like him. No, like she actually saw him out her window on Avengers Day. I love the idea of younger kids growing up in a world where they were personally saved or touched from something of an event from one of the previous films. They also brought in Kingpin. Vincent D'Onofrio, holy shit. The excitement level that I felt watching this week to week and the slow build up and the hints and just them confirming that Kingpin from the Daredevil show is in the MCU. I will forever put the show on a pedestal just for that little reveal. Number 10, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, another show that maybe I enjoyed a little bit more than some other people. I really liked that Anthony Mackie got his own time to shine, even with Bucky, right? These are characters who are predominantly sidekicks to Captain America, Steve Rogers, and they work very well in those movies. But to see a show that showcased them two as the main stars and having Bucky go through his traumatic stress with his past and everything that he's done, trying to acclimate himself into present day. Sam Wilson with his sister, dealing with racism and prejudiceness. I know some people are sick of seeing that type of stuff put on screen or put in their movies, but me being somebody of color and relating to that, actually having to experience some form of a similar thing almost every day that I go outside, I think it's needed. And the MCU touching that subject, having Isaiah Bradley, like actually going there, I was very appreciative. I welcomed it completely. Number 9, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Here's a movie that kicked so much ass. Like, literally, the martial arts was great. The stunts, seeing Simu Liu as the main lead here. Like, I know he's been around, this actor, but this really showcased him, brought him to the forefront of a leading man, and he was a badass. He was great. He was likable as a lead. I know not everybody hates the Mandarin twist in Iron Man 3 as much as I do, but I appreciate that for me and anyone else. Marvel said, look, we get it. We get it. We can do something with this. We can still do something with the Mandarin character. We can change him up so that it's not as stereotypical and he's more of a badass, which he was here. The Mandarin as Shang-Chi's father not only makes sense for the story, but also he gets some great moments. The only issue I have with this movie is how fantastical the third act gets with the dragons and whatnot. I mean, I know that's built into the Shang-Chi culture, but I was enjoying the straight up martial arts fighting and the more grounded action so much more, that once we got so big and grandiose, it's like, okay, I get it. That's what Marvel movies do, but I didn't need that. Number 8, another controversial pick probably, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I know people were disappointed by this. They expected maybe more multiverse-like stuff, or they just expected, I don't know. I guess they just expected more. I was satisfied with what I got, though. I got to appreciate Benedict Cumberbatch even more so as Doctor Strange in this movie. I felt like I got to understand him and know him a little better than I did even in the first film. Yes, Wanda was sort of like, oh shit, she's the villain. Like that maybe comes off as a little too quick or whatnot, but Elizabeth Olsen was a badass and she was scary. And I loved how Sam Raimi was able to work in a lot of the horror-like elements that come with Scarlet Witch's powers. You saw her full force. We no longer have to talk about, oh, what if she went up against Thanos? Like, no, we know for sure what she's capable of. And if nothing else, we got some really cool cameos from that whole Illuminati craziness. Number 7, Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. I really appreciated this because not only did it help me get into the Christmas holiday spirit, which I don't always get into nowadays, but I appreciated that it was Drax and Mantis as more of the main characters. Characters who are more of the side characters and don't always get as much to do in the movies, but they were front and center here, and they actually entertained me. Them going to get Kevin Bacon and kidnapping him and just everything that went on there. I loved it. It made me looking forward to the third film that much more. Number 6, Werewolf by Night. And talk about something new, something different, something fresh, and something that was able to kind of go off into its own little pocket side of the MCU, go full horror. I couldn't believe that on Disney Plus they were willing to let this be as violent as it was. We saw blood, we saw gore, we saw people getting killed, and yes, it was in black and white. Yes, that enabled them to be able to go as far as they did, but the black and white also was able to showcase the universal monster style that they were going for. Number 5, Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Now, this was tough because you have to follow the first Black Panther, which I loved. I really enjoyed. I loved how MCU was more than willing to not only put black characters on such a pedestal, but treat them as royalty, seeing them be kings, seeing them it's a different level. It's something that you don't always get to see in your films. And yes, the loss of Chadwick Boseman was a huge hit. Not their fault, but his lack of presence is felt and is missed throughout this movie. But I appreciated how that enabled a lot of these black women the time to shine. You got so many great performances from Shuri, who I've been very vocal about what I think of the actress, but she was great. The character was great. Angela Bassett was a powerhouse, stealing the scenes in every ones that she's in. Also, Okoye, Nakia, I mean, you name it, they brought it. Riri Williams as an introduction. I can't wait to see more of her character. Number 4, Moon Knight. Oscar Isaac just bringing it with his acting. Him having to portray so many different personalities. I really enjoyed how they introduced the Mark and Steven dynamic and how it was back and forth and how it was such a mystery. I mean, watching this week to week was very frustrating because you wanted more. You just wanted to find everything out. And maybe that's what hurt some people's experience watching this, because it was so like, what the fuck is going on? But once you get everything, once you get that reveal, especially episodes 4 and 5, I remember being very blown away by how those episodes gave us the backstory, told us more about what was going on with this character. Binging this show was such a treat, and I think that's what the Disney Plus shows have been doing so well, is to introduce all these newer characters, but we don't have to wait for movies that usually take longer to get up and going. Like, no, we can do movies and shows, and these shows can take the time, 6 or so episodes, to introduce these characters, to let us get to know them more. Number 3, WandaVision. Wow. WandaVision had the luxury of being the very first Disney Plus Marvel show, so we were introduced to what these shows could be, how different they could go, how unique they would take an idea like this, right? Getting to know and get more time with characters like a Scarlet Witch and Vision, who, yes, we liked them from the movies. Yes, we got to get maybe the bare bones of like, oh, here's 2 characters that just end up falling in love, and okay, cool. But you get to see how in love they are and how much they meant to each other and how much they needed each other, and getting a real psychological breakdown of the character of Wanda and how much being without Vision is destroying her, and her wants and needs and desires of having a family, and what she's willing to do in order to get this, and everything that she does with the town. You almost don't realize, when some people say that the Doctor Strange movie, she was just all of a sudden a villain, you watch WandaVision and it's like, we're seeing her become a villain. Like, it's pretty apparent that she's willing and capable of doing some messed up things to innocent people. Loki is number 2, and this is crazy because Loki it was so different. When the show was first announced, I remember thinking to myself, okay, this is going to be a fun show, whatever. I like Tom Hiddleston. They always figure out a way to bring this character back, but whatever, it'll be a fun ride and we'll move on. But not only was I impressed with how they brought the character back, but I was impressed that this show was something that I could never even predict, right? This whole TVA situation is wild, is crazy, and the dynamic between Loki and Owen Wilson, and how much I actually gave a shit about Owen Wilson's character. Like, I felt for him. How much this show was setting up for future projects. And even Sylvie. Sylvie is a very complicated character. She did something very messed up. She's the female version of Loki. So I love that Loki is starting to realize how much someone like him couldn't be trusted. They played up a lot of the variant stuff and the multiverse stuff. This show was a big benchmark of having to set up and explain a lot of things that these phases, these next few phases would be about. Number 1, though, is it not painfully obvious? Spider-Man No Way Home. Holy shit, man. This movie, I just don't get sick of it. I've rewatched this so many times. I've rewatched it in the theater so many times. For people who are complaining about, oh man, we just haven't had that Avengers Endgame level feeling since then. It's like, did you not see Spider-Man No Way Home? Like, that was the closest we could get to getting that same Avengers level feeling, but it's Spider-Man. And it's something that, yeah, Sony's involved, and I always roll my eyes when I see the Sony logo, but it's clearly MCU. It's Spider-Man being connected to the MCU that has made the Tom Holland movies feel so different, feel so special, and feel unlike any other Spider-Man movie that has come before it. But I love, love, love the fact that this movie acknowledges the Tobey Maguire and the Andrew Garfield movies. Not just acknowledges them by bringing in the villains and the same actors that played them, but you bring in the Spider-Man actors. And to see all three Spider-Men interacting with each other, it's something that we've all fantasized about. We've all talked about. Wouldn't it be cool if this happened? We've all seen fan art pictures of the three Spider-Men together, but did we ever really think it was possible? Did we ever really think it would happen? Great performances from Tom Holland and Zendaya and just everyone all the way around. The death of Aunt May is something I'm still crying about when I think about it. And also Alfred Molina. But my God, Willem Dafoe back as Norman Osborn. I can't stress this enough. I've always said that Willem Dafoe from the first Spider-Man film made Green Goblin a villain that I loved and appreciated more. But thank God they brought him back for this new movie, because I think now it's solidified. It's without a doubt. No one can debate the fact that Green Goblin is Spider-Man's biggest threat, is Spider-Man's biggest villain. He was scarier, he was sadistic, he was more brutal in this movie than ever before. So guys, let me know in the comments below, what do you think, not only of Phase 4 in general, but what's your ranking? What's some of your favorite and least favorite MCU films from Phase 4? Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later.